So my mom's side is from a very small town in Sicily. It's about 4 or 5 kilometers from Cefalù, which is somewhat of a well-known kind of a resort town. It's right on the coast there. About, I don't know, like 45 minutes outside of Palermo. The name of the town is Sant'Ambrogio. Very, very, very small town. And then my father's side is from a very, very small town in Abruzzo. And they are just outside of the bigger town, which is Sulmona. And the famous thing of Sulmona is it is called the city of the confetti. The confetti are the almond, the candy-coated almond that they give out at weddings. Well, Sulmona is like the capital of where they make confetti. So, and the name of his town is Bugnara. I mean, growing up, Columbus Day was like our holiday, okay? It was our holiday. We had our parade. It was a time for Italians to celebrate. That was a source of pride. And we just went with it. We just went with it. I mean, that's how it was my whole life. You know, I didn't live 200 years ago when there was no Columbus Day or, you know, parade or any of that. So definitely. And I mean, and, you know, like I grew up like, you know, in the 70s when, you know, I grew up in an Italian-American area. And I mean, it was just huge popularity. I mean, gigantic. I mean, coming out of the extremities, to be honest with you. That's why, like, for me, you know, sometimes I get in these conference things with people over the country and it'll be, you know, oh, where I grew up, I was the only one, you know, and they have a whole other story about growing up where me, oh my God, everybody was Italian. It means everything. It is my identity. That is who I am. And I'm not trying to be funny, or it is who I am. That was my life. I am Frank and I'm an Italian-American 100%. And that was my identity. And I think it all just comes from where I grew up and the area and just everything around me. It is my identity. I was always very proud, but I also too, I took it to a different level. Like I really like I was always proud and I loved it. And you know, you'd be watching a football game and, you know, that guy is Italian and it's like, you love that guy because he was an Italian name, you know, I mean, stuff like that. We rooted for our people, you know? And as a 19-year-old, I was very lucky and I got to go to Italy. I wanted to go to Italy so bad. And I got to go to Italy at 19. And boy, you want to talk about pride after that? Forget about it. It got me hook, line, and sinker. So I went when I was 19. I went when I was 20. I went when I was 21. I was ready to live there. Okay. And I got to study. I didn't even go to Loyola University, and they had a study abroad program. And I signed up for this program. So I went there for 5 months. So the first time I go to Italy, I go for 2 months. I think 4 months later, I go back for 5 months. And then I went back like 10 months later for another 2 months. I have a podcast, an Italian-American podcast, and it's called Keeping It Real with Frankie D. That's what they call me when I was a kid, Frankie D. The reason that real thing is I don't like putting on a facade. I don't like pretending to be something I'm not. I don't like that at all. I got to earn my stripes. I got to, I would never say, oh, I'm Italian. No, I'm not. I'm Italian-American. I was born in Chicago. I mean, I'm not trying to pretend to be something I'm not. I don't like that. I do Italian-American moments. There are these 1 minute like videos about something to be proud of. That's it. Something to be proud of. Because I think that our younger people, and probably even people my age, they don't have a clue. You know what I mean? I want people to know these stories. I want people to, you know, Mr. Coffee Machine. You know, the little percolator coffee machines? Well, back in 72, that wasn't an item that really existed. the co-creator of Mr. Coffee was an Italian-American guy. And part of the popularity of the machine, of the product, was he got a guy named Joe DiMaggio to do the commercials. Joe DiMaggio didn't even like coffee. He didn't want to do the commercials. But this one Italian-American guy, who was a former professional athlete, not baseball player though, talked this other Italian-American athlete into doing these commercials. And in 3 years, they sold 1 million machines. But Mr. Coffee, Italian-American co-creator of the machine, that's the kind of stuff, you know what I mean? The ice cream cone was invented by an Italian immigrant. That's the kind of stuff. The vegetable broccoli was invented by putting different seeds together by a family, an Italian family. And so doing these videos, I mean this, it's nothing, I don't benefit nothing. It costs me money to have a podcast, to do this stuff. I have to bother my son every week, okay? I have to spend money to have the website, to do this, to do that. Don't matter. It's not about Frankie D. I don't want at the end of it to become about Frankie D. It's not about Frankie D. It's about the Italian Americans learning about their background and the sources of pride, which we have millions, okay? I detest that in this day and age, in this country, it's like we're bad, Italian Americans are bad, and we have no say in anything. And I sit there and I go, I'm not a smart guy, but am I missing something? We're our people, the Roman Empire, the Italian people, that little country of Italy has given so much to the world. I think for preserving culture, that's us. That comes from us. We have to do it. And as a community, we have to make a conscious effort to do it. And, you know, I talk a lot, I'm very passionate about this, but believe me, I devote much of my life to it. It's not just talk. I devote my life. I go to things, I help at things, I create things. I think about this stuff on a daily basis. What can I do to make it better? What can I do the next moment, the next podcast? You know, I'm involved with Casa Italia. I'm a director at Casa Italia. And I mean, I think about, you know, events. What could we have? What could we do? How can we get to young people? We need to get to young people. That's a fact. We need to get to young people. Around 2012-ish, I was involved with the high school in Norwich, Ridgewood High School, and they had like a studio that they filmed, and they were part of that community cable access. So we had like an hour every week, and different people had shows. And this one lady in the school, they had a mentoring program, a really nice freshman mentoring program. Every kid at Ridgewood got a mentor. So I was a mentor, and you had like 4 or 5 kids, and I really loved that because I love talking to young people. And she was like, the lady that worked at the school, she's like, oh, you should do like a show. I'm like, what are you talking about? So all of a sudden, I started doing this like TV show, Keeping It Real with Frankie D. It was like a talk show. But then there was a man that was part of the school of the film crew, and we also had a radio station. So he tells me like, I gotta come do this radio show as well. And then he was hooked up with this Windy City something. So he put it like on his website. So the TV show was not about Italian stuff. It was based about the school. But this radio thing, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this like Italian. So I started doing this radio thing. And about, I don't know, 5, 6 episodes into it, I swear to God, I was at a wake. And I'm talking to somebody. And you got to understand, I am not technological at all. Zero, zilch. And I don't know the new things happening. I'm like an old fuddy-duddy, old school fuddy-duddy. So this guy at the wake, we're talking. I'm telling him what I'm doing. He goes, you know what you got there? I go, what? He goes, you got a podcast. And I'll never forget. I go, what's a podcast? I never heard the word. I really did not know. So little by little, I kind of graduated. And I had a good buddy who actually has a big company. He took an employee and told him to help me. He made the website. He made the technical part of this podcast. Okay. The content was me, but like the technical part. So he put me on my way to this podcast. So I've been doing this for 8 to 9 years. I do not do episodes or interviews structured like once a week, once a month. I do them as they come. I try to do more of a quality about a story prior to going to Italy. What are you? I'm Italian. Okay, how many Italians are here? When I went to Italy at 19, it was the first time I realized I'm not Italian. Yeah. I'm in Italy. I got an American passport. I'm looking around I'm like, whoa. Up until that point on Harlem Avenue, I'm Italian. I never said Italian American, too. We didn't talk like that back then. You didn't say I'm Italian American. No. I wasn't that PC. Mm-hmm. It was I'm Italian. Now I go to Italy and I'm like, I'm not Italian. And that's when I realized there's this whole other thing. Like Italian Americans is like its own group. And then Italians are another group. Now, we should be bonded and united. And that's something, that I hope for.